There are moments people don't tell as stories. They don't know where to start. They don't know what category to place them in, and they don't know what they would sound like out loud. So many stay unspoken. Tonight's conversation begins in that space, in a place where words fail us and understanding may never truly be achieved. These are simply moments that exist, whether we're comfortable with them or not. I'm Dave Schrader, and welcome. This is the Paranormal 60.
I'm not gonna stand here and listen to this baloney. He won't float. He doesn't stand for baloney.
Sounds like a lot of supernatural baloney to me.
Supernatural, perhaps. Baloney, perhaps not.
Good evening, my darklings, and welcome to another edition of the Paranormal 60. I am your host, Dave Schrader. Thank you so much for joining me here this evening. Many of you have been sending in emails. Dave, you've been in the Palmer house since the 15th. Have you had any weird experiences? Oh, we've had plenty of weird experiences already. Strange knocking noises. As a matter of fact, the other night, we're staying here at the Palmer as our place is getting ready for us to move into. And we have a little apartment upstairs. And you could hear what sounded like somebody dragging their hands across all the hangers in the closet. And at first, we thought we were hallucinating to what was going on. So we got up and opened the closet door, and lo and behold, they're swinging inside the closet. We've had some guests stop in. Some have told me their ghost stories and things that have occurred here. Many strange connections to people that have been here and ended up having relatives that worked here at one time or friends. It's pretty exciting. I will keep you abreast of what else is going on as we continue to learn more about the Palmer House Hotel. For those of you that have been living in a dark, shallow cave somewhere, I purchased the Palmer House Hotel, Restaurant, and Pub in Sauk Center, Minnesota. It is haunted, it is historic, it is fantastic, and it is now mine. I'm very excited to share it with all of you, and I'll be doing many of the shows right here from inside the Palmer House. And you too could be here with me, enjoying it. Look at the fire. It's all cozy. This isn't even fake background. This is the real deal. I finally have a nice backdrop. All right, let's get going tonight. Tonight's an interesting conversation. This gentleman reached out to me through another social media and said that he's had a lot of strange experiences and would like to talk to me about them. And I love when I'm able to communicate with somebody who maybe doesn't have the same forum, doesn't necessarily get all these stories out to the same public. So it's really great to be able to meet somebody like this, bring them on and give them a chance to shine. Joining me for this evening's program, Jason Tavares. Jason, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Man, now I've got to know, obviously you gave me a list of some of the strange things and encounters you've had. Without getting into them individually at this point, has your life always had strange things taking place, or was there kind of a genesis point for you where things suddenly sprang to life and you began being very aware of the paranormal?
I think it began, I would say, if there was a one point that I could say this is the exact time period, it would be probably around 1994.
1994. Okay.
Yeah, and that's to be on, 1993 to be exact. After that, things weren't necessarily weekly or monthly or anything like that, but it was more apparent. And as time went on, I realized it was something that would be constant in my life. Maybe not from that one instance, but me being open to strange events taking place.
Well, do you mind taking us back to that moment in 1993, 1994? What was that awakening moment for you?
Well, I was a soldier on active duty at Fort Campbell for 4 years with the Field Artillery.
Well, thank you for serving. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. No problem. I had a friend who, I hate to say it this way, but he basically got killed in a car accident coming back from Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh.
And for the longest time, I always thought the soldier he was driving with, because he was the passenger, killed him in a sense out of recklessness, because they both went out. And it came down to it in the end that it was due to fatigue and not drinking. But the soldier that did it to him did it to another soldier a year later. Didn't kill him, but they were both in critical condition.
Wow.
So to get back to my friend who had been killed, we were young and dumb kids. So me being a dumb kid and a lot of the other kids, in my unit who were young, we did a Ouija board maybe 6 to 10 months after my friend had passed.
Okay.
I found the Ouija board when I was on leave in Rhode Island, because I live in Rhode Island, took it back with me to Fort Campbell. And it was the strangest event you could imagine. We're in a barracks room, 2-man room. My other roommate wasn't there, but these other 2 guys who came in the room, one of them lived across the hall and one lived down the hall. So we had the Ouija board. I had the guy's dog tag chain, not the tags, but the chain itself. I had gotten it through, different means from somebody who had given it to me, knowing that we were good friends. I had a candle, and when we were using the Ouija board, I made sure everybody had their hands on the planchette like this.
Mhm.
Nobody pushed. So I said, I told everybody ahead of time, when you do this, put your hands on it like this, and nobody release until we all release at once. So we all agree, release, and we release. So we started asking questions. At first it was silly, and then we got serious. I told everybody to be serious. And when I asked it questions, the candle, first off, the flame went like this when we started, once we got it spinning. And we're in a room with the windows closed.
So the flame goes from flickering completely upright to bent over as though something's gently blowing on it.
Yeah, and a lot of us, out of the group there, out of the 3 of us, didn't really have experience with the Ouija board except off of what you've read or seen in a movie or something like that. So
Right.
The questions I asked that were pretty specific, with me being the one asking the questions. I said, is there anybody on this board that you dislike? And it's spelled SPNDLR as an abbreviation, slid. I'm not going to say the guy's actual name, but that's the abbreviation of his name, to a guy to my right. And he was kind of shocked. And I said, and we got it spinning again afterwards, because one of the legs had gone off the edge when it slid over to him. Got
Right.
it back on, got it spinning again. Asked it, is there anybody on the board that you miss? It slid over to me because he and I were good friends. So we started asking it questions again. I said, is there anybody? So I want to see. I said, let's test it to see if it's actually him that was speaking with and not a demon or something like that. Not that you would exactly know, but the questions I asked would only be questions that he would have known. And we were kids, like I said, 18
Right.
19 years old. So I'm asking the questions. I said, is there anybody on post outside of me that you missed? It's spelled out MTCHL and YENZ, abbreviations of 2 sergeants that were in his artillery section.
Wow.
How would it know that?
Right.
So we started asking it questions. After that, it started spinning, and I asked it to say goodbye. It went near goodbye, and it looked like the window was near goodbye, but it wasn't, because our hands were like this. I said, nobody remove your hands. Wait till it says goodbye. Please say goodbye. It spun again and went over to goodbye. I boxed it and never opened it again. This is the last time I ever used it, and I got rid of it maybe 6 years ago when I sold my condominium. So I had it that long in my house, but never opened.
That was enough for you. That moment of communication with your friend was enough. It didn't entice you to go back and try to communicate with him further?
No, because with the board, I found it that odd that, let's say it was a demon. How would it know how to spell, though? How would it even know in a million years? It's a post full of thousands of people. We had a unit with like 90 guys in it. It spelled 2 names, abbreviated MTCHL and YENZ, for these 2 sergeants that were in his section. How would something ever know that? And it was just, I love paranormal, but it's not something I'd ever want to touch again. And I never did a seance in my life either, and I don't think I ever will either in that aspect or anywhere else.
So you believe that was kind of the moment that the door of your consciousness opened and you became aware of a much bigger world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so much has happened to me since, not weekly, not monthly, like I said, but I have stories that you could ask me now and I'll tell you, and you could ask me 10 years from now, I'll tell you the same story. So, just like that one.
Now,
things are just very unexplainable.
A few weeks ago on my other radio show, the Paranormal 360, I spoke with a couple who were stationed at Misawa Air Force Base in Japan. And they talked about the crazy amount of activity that took place over there. Throughout my years of hosting shows and meeting people, I've spoken to many different military personnel, so many of them tell me how crazy haunted the barracks are, the on-site housing for families. Many are trying to get off base, not because they're looking for independence, but because they're sharing their space with others. Have you found that in your military experience and work? Were there a lot of places that seemed to be just filled with paranormal activity?
For me, no, not outside of that experience. That was probably the only one. Because Fort Campbell was really my only active duty post that I was at, and then I went to the Guard and ended up going AGR, like Active Guard Reserve, years later. But yeah, on a post, I know I never really had anything like that, except for that experience. That it technically wasn't even an experience that showed itself to you. We kind of dug in and got the result. It's
Right.
not like it showed itself and said, here I am. We kind of, did something we technically, not that you shouldn't have done it, but you don't know what you're doing when you are doing it with the Ouija board.
So here you are a little over 30 years, 32, 33 years later.
Yeah.
And you've had many different experiences. Now, Jason, with hindsight being 2020, do you ever look back beyond 93 and realize, oh, there were some other elements. There were other strange things as a child. I had an imaginary friend, or I saw a bat-like creature in the sky. Anything like that resonate with you now that maybe you pushed away as a child and now can see it a little bit more clearly for what it was?
There was one more, and you're going to think I'm a total nut on this one. It was a summer of 1988. I was on my
Okay.
bicycle, and there's an extremely popular restaurant here in Rhode Island called Twin Oaks. So
Okay.
down the street from Twin Oaks is a road called Niantic Ave, and then you can go across the little bridge to a part of Providence. It's like a little wooded area. I had gone to a friend's house over there, and he wasn't home. So I think I was 14, 1988. I rode my bike up to the top of the street, and I stopped because of what I saw. Walking toward me on the other side of the road, sunny day in July 1988, I saw Abraham Lincoln. Now you're going to be like, oh, this guy's nuts. I saw a guy, total hat and everything, pulling on his jacket, looking around. He walked, took a left around the corner, and kept walking very slow, as if he was just not lost, just admiring the area. I saw him go around the corner, so I rolled my bike from where I was on Niantic. There wasn't a street across from it, just the bridge, but at least 10 feet toward the bridge. Looked down that way, and he was gone. And the way it's set up, he would have had to done a full sprint and hit under a car for me to not see him. So I ended up moving my bike even further now toward the bridge. It's not a busy bridge. There's no cars on it. Every now and again, a car will pass. It's not, a busy area. So I'm like not pedaling, but leaning on my handlebars like kids do and walking your bike, walking like this to see it. I'm looking, and there's nothing there and nowhere he could have gone. Now, I rode my bike, which was only like a half mile away, full speed home. Got in the house, my father automatically, what did you do? He saw the look on my face, thought I was in trouble for something. I said, you won't believe what I just saw. I explained it. He goes, get in the car. You got in the car, he drove me over there. I showed him the exact spot. And I never forgot that my dad looked at me and said, Jay, I believe you 100%. He goes, where did you see it? And I said, right here. He goes, I've seen things in my life that I can't explain to this day. And he goes, I totally believe you. And he goes, are you scared? And I said, I was shocked. I said, I thought it was like a costume until he went around the corner. And then when I saw him, I couldn't see him anymore. And I went across on the bridge over there. Not that it's, like I said, it's not a busy bridge. It's nothing like that. I had my chest kind of sort of on my handlebars, walking across to see him. He was gone. And there's nowhere he could have gone. And my father was just like, wow, he goes, that's something. He goes, well, you'll always remember that. And it happened when I was 14, and I guess I always will.
Yeah, that's wow. It's interesting. I've been to Rhode Island a handful of times, a couple of times with the Holzer Files TV show, but one of my very first events when I began doing this, and January 1st marks my 20th anniversary of doing paranormal broadcasts and radio. And we had decided, let's start doing some live events. And I had made friends with the guys from TAPS. And I'm sure being in Rhode Island, you're very familiar, right? And we were holding it at a hotel that was right there in Warwick. And I want to say there was a restaurant known like Trappers or something. It was very rustic looking, cabiny kind of, it was really neat. And it was like right off of the parking lot of the the hotel. And we had set people up and they were in investigating, and we had Steve Gonzalez and another one of the investigators was part of that, Paula Donovan at the time. And we had broken them up into two different floors, one in the basement, one on the one floor. And that's where the hauntings were known to take place. There were two rooms there, one on each floor. So we had the people broken up. And about an hour into the investigation, this gentleman comes down in the lobby and he's walking around and he's rubbing his throat and he's wincing and he looks, and I'm like, do you need some water? Are you okay? He goes, I don't know, man. So I was upstairs, I was in that room, and all of a sudden it got real hard to breathe. And I felt like I was almost like drowning. I felt like I was gargling on something. I didn't feel better till I got down on this floor. He goes, that's really weird. I don't know if I'm having an allergic reaction. And I'm like, well, just sit down and relax. Just sit down. It's okay. He goes, well, my wife's still going. I said, well, she'll come looking for you. This is the safe spot. We've told everybody if you get unnerved or uncomfortable, you could always meet in the lobby. So this guy's just kind of wandering around and he doesn't stop rubbing his throat. And he's just, you could see he's very upset. Maybe about 20 minutes later, another gentleman enters into the lobby and he's doing the same thing. And I go, what's going on? I don't know, man. I just felt like I was choking. I got in that one room upstairs. I felt like I was choking. I don't know how to explain it. I felt like I had fluid going down my throat. Yeah, I guess I can't get rid of it. It feels horrible. And the other guy goes, that's what happened to me. And he came over. And again, we start talking, trying to go to the place of logic. Maybe this is an allergic reaction of some sort. Maybe there's something triggering them. And the night manager goes, can I ask you guys something? And they're like, sure. And he goes, what room did you say you were in? And they're like, we were in the upstairs room. And I go, yeah, that's where the guy overdosed, right? And he goes, no, I listened to you guys tell those stories earlier and I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to influence you. You had it flipped. The guy that overdosed passed away downstairs in that room. The guy upstairs had taken a sharp object to his own throat and had tried to end life that way. He panicked, picked up the phone and called the lobby. And he said, I was the night manager that night. And I heard this goofy noises and I thought somebody was pranking me. And I'm like, what do you want? I'm busy. And he goes, I kept hearing him. Then he said, help. And then dropped the phone. So eventually I made my way up there. And that's when he found out that this man had lost his existence by his own hand.
Jeez.
And these two guys' faces just went chalk white. And they're like, I felt like I was choking to death on like thick fluid. And they just couldn't believe it. And they're standing there. And it's really remarkable to watch somebody have their first experience. And then the best part happened, Jay. A few seconds later, the elevator's open and out come two angry wives. And they come approaching and they're like, what's going on? Why'd you quit ghost hunting? We paid to do this and da-da-da. And I go, oh, you guys, this is amazing. Wait till you hear what happened. And the two wives stop and they lock in. They hear the story. These two women start slow burning. They're so pissed. They don't know each other. Their husbands don't know each other. And they're both enraged because they brought their husband, who didn't want to be there, to kind of sate the wife. They went along with the wife, had no belief in the paranormal. And he had this really cool experience and we didn't get anything. And I'm like, you realize two full-grown men came down to the lobby terrified because they felt like they were choking to death. They were drowning in something. And it turns out that that's where somebody's life ended very sadly. And they're like, yeah, why can't we have that experience? And the other one's like, yeah, I came here. Why wasn't I the one choking? And I looked at her and I said, I'm pretty sure if you keep this attitude up, that might happen by the end of the night. Oh. And the husband started laughing. And I'm like, I don't know. There's no rhyme or reason as to why it happens, but it very well could have been that this guy resonated with these two men. And
I actually have another, not to cut you off, I have another military one because you had asked.
Right.
I just remembered it, and it's actually a good one. But I'll wait till you're finished, of course.
Okay. No, that's great. I'd love to go back to you on this, but I just thought, being in Rhode Island, I'm talking to the guy, I was just surprised. I'm like, this hotel looks relatively new. He goes, yeah, it's only been here. I think they just rebuilt this hotel like 4 years. that it was back up there, and it was right down the road, not far, maybe a mile from the TAPS office, the ghost hunters office that they used on the TV show.
Yeah, West Shore Road. Over there.
Yeah. And it just, it really boggled my mind to my very first hosted event to have somebody come out with this experience, and two different men that didn't know each other. I was just blown away.
That's
But
awesome.
our guest, Jason Tavares, we're talking about very strange situations and encounters that he's had unexpectedly throughout his life. Not something that you necessarily were seeking, right, Jason? These were just
Nah, I've
right
always
place,
liked it.
right time.
Like the shirt, I have the Twilight Zone shirt on. That's
Right.
one of my favorite programs. I've always enjoyed it, but I never like looked and made up something to say like, oh, did you hear that? That had to be that. Even as a kid, I always try to dismiss it as, oh, it could have been this, could have been that. Of course, as a kid up here in New England, you love it around Halloween. Like
Right.
our Halloween start early September, it's already in the air. Even as an adult. But here's one more story from Fort Campbell. This isn't really paranormal, but it's still creepy.
Okay.
I was at my desk. We had these when the boss program kicked in. It's called Better Options for Single Soldiers. We could actually paint our rooms and have our rooms clean, but more like a dorm in a way.
Okay.
And it kicked in around 1993, 1994. I was only there from 92 to 96. So here it is. I'm in my room. I'm off work and I'm in my uniform. And the way the cabinets were, they had like a door up here. When you open the door, you could pull down a little drawer in a sense that you could use as a desk, and you have like a wooden chair. So I'm in my uniform still. We had closed the business. I'm at my desk. A couple of my buddies come to my room and knock on the door. And they come in and like, hey, man, what's your problem? And I said, I don't have a problem. I said, what's going on? I said, we just walked up to you at the PX, at the ATM machine, to talk to you. You looked at us, took your money out, and walked away. And I said, okay, well, why would I do that? And they said, dude, we all said, it was my friend Mike and two other guys, all said they saw me. This is a sunny day, nice day, just like I saw Abraham Lincoln in Rhode Island in July of 88.
Right.
So I'm in my room and I said, what was I wearing? And they said, you were in civilian clothes. And I said, then why would I put my uniform back on? And they all looked at each other like, oh, why did you put your uniform back on? I said, because I haven't left this room. I went, close a business at formation, chow, and here. And they're looking at each other like, dude, there's a guy who looks exactly like it. So we had a laugh about it, and that was it. A few weeks passed, I'm driving a vehicle called a Humanoid. It's like a big, looks like a big ammo. It's a big ammo carrier. It's big as a school bus. And you always have to have a TC when you drive a military vehicle, meaning you're driving and you have somebody in the passenger seat. So this guy I had in the passenger seat sleeping. It was early in the day, driving down the road. Weeks after these guys saw me, they said they saw me at the PX at the ATM machine. I'm driving. There's another Humanoid coming on this side of the road. I'm driving it. But the guy was a little heavier right here. His chin looked kind of like I have a little bit of fat here. When I was a kid, I weighed like 155. I weigh like 200 pounds now. This guy, looking at him in passing, probably weighed 175. It was as if looking at me maybe 10 years after that point. So I'm driving this Humanoid. It's a big vehicle, and I'm reaching over. I'll say the guy's name. His last name is Valancourt. I'm like, Valancourt, and I'm hitting the metal space between us. I said, look. And we're passing this guy. He didn't turn to look at me, but I'm looking at him, and it's me, but just a little bit heavier. And I assume that's the guy they saw at the PX. So when Valancourt woke up, he woke up just as we passed. He's like, man, he had the real Ohio country accent. He's like, man, he goes, why would you wake me up? I was up all night last night. So, and I explained, I had to tell you that. He goes, that's the stupidest thing. Why would you want to tell me that? I'm like, to me, it was something. You know what I mean? Because these guys, I'm telling me about it weeks before. He wasn't one of those three guys who came to my room. So to him, it was dumb. But to me, I wanted to share it. So that's the only other time that's the only time I physically saw what I believe they saw. So when I did go back and talk to Mike and the guys, I told them, I think I saw that guy. And he does. So for me to see him, it looked like a mirror, but maybe 10 years later, a little heavier, slightly heavier.
Wow. That's
I see why they were freaked. He said the guy took the money out, took his receipt, and looked at them and just, just ignored them and walked away.
Well, we have to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about the creature you saw in Iowa, the shadowy lady of Romania, the snake woman in Indiana, and then hear about the phone call you received that was very strange, very special. We'll do that when we return. You're listening to the very best in paranormal programming. I'm Dave Schrader, your host on this journey, and this is the Paranormal 60. You know, my darklings, December moves pretty fast. All the outings, the parties, the shopping, the travel, the did we actually wrap everything chaos? But once the noise dies down, there's always that one moment that I look forward to most. Slowing down, cozying up, and just being present with the people I love. And that's exactly why I keep going back to Cozy Earth. Their bamboo sheets, made from viscose from bamboo, are the best gift of better sleep I've ever given, and the best gift I've ever given myself. They're incredibly soft. They sleep cooler, and somehow they make crawling into bed feel like you're slipping into a luxury retreat. And if you've got someone on your list who desperately needs rest, or if that someone is you, this is the gift that says, take a breath. You deserve this. And then there's the bubble cuddle blanket. I've told you about this. If you want to give a gift that feels more like an experience than a product, like a hug that they can feel from you any time of year, this is the gift. It's got that plush textured feel, just the right weight, and it turns any couch or bed into the coziest corner of the house. Snuggling by the fire, movie nights, maybe even a quiet moment on the couch. This blanket makes all of it better. It's comfort that lingers long after the holidays end. Plus, you get a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty. Think about that. Try returning any other bedding after using it for 3 months. That just ain't gonna happen. Cozy Earth stands behind every stitch. So here's the deal. Now, through December 12th, head to cozyearth.com and use my code P60 for up to 40% off. And order by the 12th for guaranteed Christmas delivery. Listening after that, don't worry, my darklings, the code still works and it's going to get you 20% off year-round. And if you get that post-purchase survey, make sure to mention you heard about Cozy Earth right here on the Paranormal 60. Again, cozyearth.com. Use my code P60 for up to 40% off through December 12th, 20% off year-round. Give the gift of comfort that lasts beyond the holidays and carries you into a cozy new year.
Hello, Darklings and my fellow mind travelers. This is Mark Allen Lanou, the Gemini Mind. Come take a journey with me through this place we call life by picking up a copy of my book, Reality Was Once the Tapestry of the Dreamer. Available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon online. You can find the links also on my website, markallenlanou.com. Chock full of stories about organized crime, the paranormal, my music career, NASA, and more. So go pick up your copy, and you all rock. Indeed.
And Mark Allen Lanou is going to be rocking in the new year right here at the Palmer House Hotel with me. And we'd love to have you come on out and visit with us. It's going to be a great weekend. And it starts early, Wednesday this week, middle of the week. So if you want to come on out and have some fun with us, you can still book rooms, 320-351-9100. That's 320-351-9100. And if you book a Friday and Saturday night stay, I'll throw in Thursday night for you for free. How does that sound? I'll tell you, I'll even make it better. If you want to book your Thursday and Friday night here, I'll kick in Wednesday, New Year's Eve on me. All you have to do is call in 320-351-9100. Be a part of the Palmer House family and have a great time with us. Mark Allen Lanou in-house, and I told him to bring his guitar. So maybe, if we're all good, we'll get him to play a few songs for us. We got the bar waiting, great food, and fantastic rooms. Hope to see you here. Our guest tonight is Jason Tavares. We're talking about some strange encounters, strange situations. Now, talk me through Grimes, Iowa.
Okay.
What was going on there, and what was this encounter?
Well, this encounter here, if either the 24th or the 26th is the Friday of September. I think it's the 26th. Let's call it 26 September 2014. I think it was either Friday or Saturday night. I believe it was a Friday. I was tired. I was out there with the military for a year. So I had a night off. I took my driver's license, the key to my apartment. I remember staying at what's called the Park View Apartments in Grimes, Iowa. And it's funny, because I live right down the street from Parkview Junior High School here in Rhode Island. I go there, I live in Parkview Apartments. And on my way through Iowa, when I was moving there, there's all kind of names that match up to here. There's Bristol Apartments, there's Bristol, Rhode Island. And I was laughing because all kind of, I was like, geez, I'm 1,300 miles away and all these different names are the same. So I'm there for, I think, 11 months, 10 and a half months. I wanted to go out one night because I was sick of working 6-7 days a week. I had my driver's license, my key, and about $50 all together in this pocket. No phone. I had a BlackBerry when I was out there. This is happened in 2014, but I left there in 2015. So I think I didn't get rid of the BlackBerry until like 2018, 2019 when I was back here. I just got into modern technology. I go out that night, and I walked out of Parkview Apartments, side door of the building. There's a big tree. There's like a little, not a strip mall, but like a little plaza across the street of offices, and the lights in the parking lot, those tall lights that illuminate the lot. I believe there was 2 of those. No cars around, very quiet. The Grimes is starting to pick up now from a few friends I have made that I still talk to over the last 10 years that lived there. But then it was kind of still small townish. So I wanted to walk to this bar just to have a night out. I'm walking out that door under the tree. I get to the edge of the street. No phone, as I said, so I can't take pictures of anything. I look across the street in the lot, and I physically see a creature that I could not have seen. It was as black as a black piece of paper, or this shirt. It was this color black, looked like paper from me looking at it. I'd say 20 to 30 meters away across the street. It had a long, thin neck, a rabbit-type head, ears kind of like a rabbit, but front thin legs like a coyote or a wolf. And it was sitting there like this, looking around. Now, I saw it. No alcohol in my system. I don't do drugs. I was going out to have a few drinks that night, walking, so it shows I was responsible. Key, license, Rhode Island driver's license and money in my right pocket, jeans and a t-shirt. I look, and I remember the first thing I thought, if this thing comes after me, because it's not real, maybe I could jump up straight and grab the top of the stop sign and try to pull myself. That's like just the first thing that came to you, because I knew I couldn't turn around and run back to the building. It would have gotten me. And I'm looking at it, and this thing was sitting there looking like this, and it saw me and stopped. The only thing I believe, the only reason it didn't come after me is a car was coming in the distance, and you could hear music, probably like kids in a car. It turned its head, and it turned and ran behind the building, and it ran like that gargoyle in Ghostbusters. You know how it was cheap computer graphics back then? That's all they had.
Right.
How it kind of bounced. That's what I saw. Now, I still went to the bar that night because now I really needed a drink.
Yeah, right.
Went to the bar. The next day, I'm at work. I walked home afterwards after the bar. I'm walking home very apprehensive. Now, later at night in Grimes, there's like nobody around. So I'm walking around. There's no one around. Looking around. Never saw it again. The next day at work, I brought it up. I drew what I saw. And I showed it to a guy at work, and he's like, dude, what were you drinking last night? I said, I was heading to drink. I had no drink in me, I told him. So he keeps going to his office, coming back to mine with printed pictures. Hey, was it this? Hey, was it this? Finally, he comes back with one. He goes, was it this? And I said, that's what it was, but black. It looked like black paper. It was a Patagonian mara, which is a Venezuelan rodent. It stood. Now, I don't know if that's what it was, but of any description, that's what I saw with that picture. I took the picture and I kind of shaded it in. I said, that's what I saw last night. Nobody else believed me but him. He's the only guy in the office that believed me. Everyone else is like, dude, you're overworked or this and that. You do drugs or nothing? I said, I don't do drugs and I hardly even drink. I just had a few drinks that night. So long story short, I'm in Iowa for like, 10, 11 months. I meet a girl when I'm out there. I had a girlfriend here, but I met this girl who I wanted to put in a film. She worked at Subway and we're still friends today. So I made a film and it's called Iowa More Than You Know, like IOU, like Iowa,
gotcha.
IOU. And it came out pretty cool. It's like a ghost story. And I asked her to be in it. She worked at Subway and I built rapport with her by eating at Subway a lot. And so she started to, get adjusted to me coming in to the point that it was, hi. And she was like, hi, Jason, and so on and so forth. I asked her to be in the film, taught her mom, who I ended up meeting, how to use the camera. They're both Wiccan witches, which is cool because what are the odds you're going to meet 2 Wiccans after this happens to you?
Right.
So we started to be friends. We all We filmed the movie. We knocked the whole movie out in one day. It was a short film, 14 to 16-minute film. We worked like 8 hours on it. I'm very good at writing, so I had all the scenes, went out because I had a lot of free time out there. Found all my areas we were going to film in, plus they knew areas, and she knew how to dress, so she made the character fantastic. And they're just the nicest people. I'm with them. That afterwards, I decided, I say, let me take you guys to dinner. You guys worked all day and everything like that. We're out eating dinner, and I'm explaining what I saw. And they're like, really? Like that? And they said, well, why don't you come by my house tonight? The mother said, Amelia, will come over as well. She's going through her books, and she shows me that Patagonian Mara thing, the one I shaded in that the other guy I worked with printed. And I said, yeah, that's it. And she goes, that's a demonic creature that you saw. And I was like, really? And I said, is it a Patagonian Mara? She goes, it looks like one, but it had a different name in her book. But she literally came up out of the basement, showed me the picture, and I said, yeah, that's it.
Wow.
Now, my landlord, I explained it to, the lady who made sure she had a house right next to the Parkview Apartments, this lady. I explained it to her. I ran into her at the gas station one day, and she was sitting outside on one of those metal barriers just having a soda. Like not metal barriers, but the ones you see at the end of a road. They had one in this one. She's sitting there, went over, started talking to her, and she goes, oh, that's creepy, and da-da-da. And she goes, hey, you ever been to the Beliska house? Because the Beliska house, one of the most heinous murders in the United States in 1912, I believe, when the Titanic sank, or around that time, was about 2 hours away. I didn't get to stay there, but that's what she and I were talking about at that point. And I explained what I saw. Months later now, I'm back in Rhode Island. Let's say it's 8 months later. She calls me. She said she was at her house, sitting in her driveway. The house is next door to the Parkview Apartments. And she's sitting there, and she saw a man's shadow on the Parkview Apartments outside. And she goes, it must have been standing there watching me because it ran the length of the building and disappeared. And I said, what did it look like? She goes, it looked like a shadow. It was against the building. I said, well, what I saw was in a lot. It was just a black figure. And she goes, I know, but I'm telling you what I saw. She goes, and nobody could have cast that shadow. So now she was seeing things after me telling her this story. Now, my friend, who I made the movie with, she works in that little strip mall thing across from the Parkview Apartments. She's been working there for years. She goes, every time I eat lunch, Jason, she goes, I look out the window, because we text more around Halloween, and she goes, to see if I can see your monster. And, I've never seen it, but I always look out for it. But that's insane, huh?
Yeah.
It's totally nuts. And I told so many people about it, too. I remember calling my friend Andy, he lived in Florida. And I said, dude, and he believed me right away, because he goes, only you. He goes, I believe you saw that, because even weird people are attracted to you. People that look odd, they'll be in a room and they'll look around and look right at me and come talk to me. And he used to laugh. He goes, we've got 100 people in the room. The guy walks right up to you. And I said, you called it. You know what happened. But that's a creepy experience. And I think it gave me a lot, because I felt so honored to have seen it in a way. It didn't attack you, and you got to see something that I don't think anybody else that I know has ever seen. And it couldn't be mistaken for anything. And I've talked about it a million times. What could it be mistaken for? It looked like black paper. It looked like a creature made out of black paper. The way it moved like this when it was looking around, the way it looked at me. And I looked, and I remember poking myself, like squeezing myself right here, like I do sometimes when I want to see if something's real. I'm like, I'm awake. I said, there's nobody around. The only thing that saved me was that car coming up the road when you heard the music. It looked and took off behind the building.
Yet another reason to not visit the great state of Iowa.
There's a lot of mysterious stuff out there, because it's an endless highway. You can drive forever, and then it goes into Nebraska, which is the same thing.
Well, let's take us now to an even more exotic land, Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to hear about this experience coming off of this strange papery looking creature into a snake lady. Walk us through this. When did this happen? And walk us through what actually occurred.
Another summer. Now, here's one more thing I want to add. A lot of my stories don't take place on dark roads, like people say what's happening on a dark road. They happen during the day. They happen when you're not expecting it, which to me makes it even scarier.
Yeah.
People aren't thinking of these things on a sunny day. I had an extra pass to Bally's. It was a gym in Indiana called Bally's Fitness. My friend Rob, I say, hey, you want to go work out? I say, I have an extra pass. He goes, sure. I had a 1987 Nissan back then, the ones with the electric sunroof, electric windows. I love that car. I had it for like 6 years. Got hit, got racked to the flip-up lights like Stallone had in Rocky IV. When he's driving through the tunnel and he goes to fight Drago. Totally different car than his Ferrari, but I always thought of it back then because I love Stallone. So we're in the Nissan, driving to the other side of Indianapolis to go to Bally's. There's a bus on the side of the road, regular public school bus, public bus. Bus pulls over. Rob and I are in the Nissan coming this way. We're going to go around the bus because it was parking to take the right and head down to the Bally's. People are getting off the bus. I happened to look, and apparently he did too. I didn't look at him looking, but I looked, and a woman got off the bus with a trench on, and her hair, the only way I can describe it, I don't have a rag in here. Actually, I do. I said, the only way I can describe it is this. She had her hair, but with her coat, she looked at us. Her hair did this. Her hair flipped like she flipped her hair, and I saw a snake, a complete cobra, and it went that quick right back to a person. She turned, and some people got on the bus, some people got off. I grabbed Rob in much in the same manner as I grabbed Valancourt in the Hemet that day when I saw myself at Fort Campbell. Reached over, I grabbed Rob. I said, Rob, what did you see? Because he went, I heard him gasp. I said, what did you see? He goes, I didn't see anything. I said, dude, what did you see? And I pulled over in front of the bus, and I was going to get out and go over. He goes, don't get out, don't get out. I said, dude, what did you see? He goes, her face, it looked like a cobra. I was like, dude. So we went to the gym, checked in, free pass, got up there, did one set, and I said, I don't feel like working out. He goes, dude, I don't either. Got back in the car, drove to my house, and he goes, I'm going to head home, right? I said, okay. He headed home. He didn't talk about it anymore after about 2010, 2012. Now, this was 1997. Now, he lives in Miami at this point. I'm living back in Rhode Island. I only lived in Indiana for like 6 years. Good friend. We're still talk today, but we were like great friends back then. It bothered him to the point that he decided not to talk about it anymore without saying it. Because I had my girlfriend that we just started dating, the girl I'm with now, and I had her on the phone. I said, oh, you want to hear the story? You know, just to back it up, I want you to hear my buddy Rob say it. Rob's like, yeah, I vaguely remember it. My nickname's Tavares. So he goes, hey, Tavares, I vaguely remember. I said, come on, dude. You talked about it for years. He goes, I just don't want to talk about it. Because it bothered him that much. So, and this is like during the day, grayish trench coat. She gets off. She got like a dark skin kind of woman. She wasn't black. She wasn't Spanish, just like a tint to her skin. Because I remember looking and I saw her specifically, but it was as if she turned to look at us specifically in a car on a busy road. You know what I mean? It was like, we weren't going that fast. She just happened to look. The hair went like that, looked at us, and went right back in as if she went on the bus, but she went behind the bus. I went to go in front of the bus to park. Rob stops me, and I'll stick to that story under oath. Because it wasn't what I expected on my way to go do chest and triceps, you know?
We need to take another break. We'll come back, and when we do, we'll head off to Romania. I've been to Romania a number of times. I've had some very strange things happen. I'd love to hear from our guest on that. So stay tuned. We've got more to discuss right here on the Paranormal 60. A new year is rapidly approaching, which means it's time to stop letting last year's chaos rent space in your head and in your heart. This is the season of new everything. New life, new love, new confidence, new jobs, and new chances to finally become the best version of you that you've dreamt of. And the universe? Well, it's practically standing on your lawn with a giant cosmic boombox blasting messages meant just for you. You just need the right conduit. And that's where Love and Lotus Tarot with Winnie Schrader comes in. Winnie doesn't just read cards. She translates destiny. He helps you see the opportunities lining up, the patterns trying to repeat, and the new beginnings that are already forming behind the scenes. Right on the heels of New Year comes Valentine's Day, which means love is in the air, or at least it should be. And if your love life has been more like a blue screen of death error, romance not found, don't panic, my friends. The universe is already trying to nudge you in the right direction. The cards are ready to be shuffled, your story is ready to turn the next page, and your next beginning is closer than you think. Book your reading now, or better yet, buy a reading for a friend. Visit lovelotustarot.com and start the year the way it deserves, with clarity, confidence, and maybe even finding the love that you deserve. That's lovelotustarot.com. Your destiny awaits. Hey guys, if you have checked out Stream Beacon TV and loved Paranormal Mysteries, the new series with Cindy, Shane, and myself, a new holiday special aired and it has been released now. It is an evening with the spirits. It is a live event that we did at a comedy club of all things, filmed the entire thing, telling some behind the scenes stories, having a great time. And the feedback has been fantastic. People really seem to love it. So if you haven't had a chance to watch it, you can go check it out on Stream Beacon TV. That's Stream Beacon TV. You can get the free app, watch it. You can subscribe and get access to horror, true crime, and the best in paranormal programming. That's your new one-stop spot. All right, we're back with our guest, Jason Tavares. And Jason, now we're going to head off to Romania. Why in the world would you go to Romania? What was the draw and allure for you to visit there?
Well, in 2004, the girl I was dating back then said, "You want to go to Romania?" I found a company in Connecticut called the Tours of Terror. It's out of Derbyshire, Connecticut.
Sure.
And they have these trips that go to Romania. So I said, "Oh, of course." So I ended up doing the 2004 with her. And then in 2006, I did the England one, which was pretty awesome. So here I am, a little different than the Iowa story, which happened in September 26th of 2014, where I saw something that looked like black paper. No camera, BlackBerry was upstairs. This one here I took a picture of, but didn't know I took the picture. Here I am, and I think it was either Sibiu or Shigasora, where Vlad, I don't know, I don't want to quote it wrong. I do know it, but I can't think of it right now. The exact graveyard where Vlad the Impaler's family is supposed to be buried, not Snagoff Island where they say he's buried.
Right.
I think it's in Sibiu or Shigasora, one of those places. So we're in the graveyard, and this couple is getting married the next day in Transylvania, which is pretty cool. So I said, "Hey, I had my cardboard camera," I call them, you know, those disposable crank cameras.
Right.
I didn't even have a camera back then, and I didn't have a cell phone back then. I had a home phone attached to my, in my living room here in Rhode Island. So I got this camera. I said, "Hey, can I take your picture?" Their picture's in this, but I'm going to block their picture and show you guys a photograph and a blown up of what I saw, what I didn't see, but took a picture of. So here I am. We're walking around this graveyard. It was fogged the whole time I was there. All 7 days was fog, which was pretty awesome. So here we are in the graveyard, snap their picture, snapping other people's pictures, trip goes on. I think I ended up with 3 whole cameras in the end. I get back to Rhode Island in November of 2000, 2002, and I'm at CVS reading a magazine. Lady, now on these trips, things get crazy. So the lady at the counter, I'm reading the magazine. The lady goes, "Excuse me, are you Jason Tavares?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "Can you come up here?" I went, "Oh, crap." I thought there was something on the camera. You never know. I was, pretty young, still kind of crazy. Not, you know what I mean? Like, so I didn't know.
With you.
I go up to the counter. She's going through the pictures. She goes, "You were in Europe, right?" I said, "Yeah." She slides the pictures and goes, "What's this?" And I pick up the picture and I'm like, "Oh my God." And I'm going to show you what it is. First I'm going to block the people that I took the picture of. And I hope you guys can see it. All right, I'm going to try to tilt it because this is the photo and this is the blown up. So do you see that right there where my finger is? That's this woman going up the stairs in the photo itself.
Wow.
Now, that's her blown up. And if you look at that picture, it's a black figure. Now, there was a real goth girl on the trip with me. She was standing next to me when I took the picture, not knowing I took the picture because I was taking the picture of these people I have my hand over. And that came up. So when this lady shows me this picture at CVS, she goes, "What's that?" And I went, "Oh my God." She goes, "That's a demonic spirit." She goes, "You got a photo of a demonic spirit." Now, I've had this picture on Keith. I don't know if you know Keith E. Johnson, Ghosts in
Sure. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I use a buddy of mine. He was just in a movie I made too. He's going to be in a movie called Seemingly Curtis Cusbelch. He plays my ghost father in the film. It's like a 50-minute film that should be out probably next month. 50 to 60 minutes when it's done. And I've been on his show, and I did a show a while back. He was on my show twice. I've been on his show twice over the last 10 years. Nice guy. I had this on his show, and I showed him, and he goes, "Paranormal investigators will give their right arm to have a find like that." And I said, "I didn't really find it. I took it of these people who were getting married the next day when we went through Borgo Pass into Transylvania, and that came up." Just happened to come up on a disposable cardboard job lot is where I bought a store job camera.
That's
Actually, took it
remarkable.
off my wall right up there.
And for those of you listening and wishing you'd have been able to check it out, just go to the video and check in at about 46 minutes in to hear this story and see the actual story unfold and the photograph. It's strange. Now, what I did notice was that you mentioned that the creature in Iowa had kind of a long, skinny neck and a head.
Yeah.
This photograph seems to have kind of an elongated head as well, and or an elongated neck rather, and then kind of a strange, but again, it's dark black.
I hate that light. I can't block that light. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Now you can see.
It's really remarkable, but
Yeah.
beautiful. I mean, it's a really interesting photograph.
Looks like a bun in the back of her hair. And people always ask, they're like, there's a funny story that goes along with this. Is pretty humorous. I had a condo for about 11 or 12 years, sold it, bought this house in sold that in 2018, bought this in 2019. My friend Christy comes over one night, and we're friends from years ago, and she goes, "Oh, I'm seeing a new guy who's really into paranormal. Can he come over and see that picture?" Because I used to have it in my basement wall in my workout area with tons of other stuff. I said, "Sure." So guys, when they meet other guys, they have to act tough. This guy comes walking in, "Hey man, how you doing?" I said, "There's a Coors Light in the fridge, pictures of the bottom of the basement stairs, switches on the wall." And Christy goes, go check it out by yourself. She told me, he goes, "Yeah, I'm not scared of stuff like that." Guy goes downstairs, and I'm like this, the couch. You hear him go, "Holy crap!" In like a little voice for such a jacked guy. He came upstairs. He goes, "Dude, why would you have that on your wall?" And I said, "Because I took it by accident." I said, "If it wanted to do something to me, it would have probably done it by now." I said, and I've had it ever since. And that was, God, I've been here 7 years, so that'd be a while ago, over 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
Do you still have the negative for it?
I don't know. It's a good question. I might. I usually keep my negatives. I have a big box in the basement. I'll dig through it.
Yeah, you should, because if you've got the negative, that even helps to substantiate your story more, because obviously we live in an age where people easily dismiss things as fake, and manipulated, photoshopped, whatever you might want to call it. But if you've still got that negative, that would be a great piece to showcase as well. Let's
I'll likely have it. It's a good point. I'll dig through until we find it.
Let's kind of roll out. We've got about 6 minutes left here together. This story I wanted to hold to the last because, again, I think it's fascinating, and it ties in so well with one of my first stories, hearing about the paranormal. My grandmother, after her passing, called my aunt a few times, and that was one of those stories that was part of our family legend and lore. Growing up, I didn't know how to feel about it. Now, I had seen my grandmother when she had passed away numerous times when I would spend the night at my grandfather's house, but I had no memory of it. I was very little at the time. And then hearing my mom tell me that story and my aunt tell me the story of her phone calls always just kind of, man, it just enthralled me. But you've got an interesting story to share in the same vein with telephone calls from the dead. So break us down on this one.
My aunt died in 2010, and her last days in hospice, she couldn't talk very much anymore. It was like a jumbled sound. And everybody has a distinct voice, and her voice was distinct. So even her dying voice sounded very much like her actual voice. It wasn't raspy or anything.
Okay.
So here it is. I had a BlackBerry once again. 2010, maybe, I don't know the exact date. Let's say 6 months after she passed. Early morning, 5:30 in the morning, my condo had a first and second floor. So when I came out of the bathroom, all I saw was a tree and the road out there. That's what I was like, my view. I remember that view because I was holding my towel. Still dark, only the bathroom lights on, doors half closed. Saw I had a missed call. I picked it up, and I never had this reaction in my life to something that scared me. When I had the phone to my ear listening to it, I literally pulled the phone away out of fear because it was a voicemail from a 012345 was the number. And it was her voice. And I'm not making fun of mimicking, but this is what it sounded like. He's like, "Oh, Jason," I was trying to say Jason, but like that struggling voice. I literally looked at it, and I remember stepping back, holding my towel, and I sat on the bed. And I'm frightened. So I saved it. And it used to save, I think, for 15 days. This only saved for like 7. So I played it that night. My mom worked till she was 75 years old as a nurse's aide. She just liked working. So she used to work 3 to 11. I went over her house. You know, she comes home. She goes, "Oh, Jason, why are you here? Are you okay?" I said, "I want you to hear something." My mom's extremely religious. She sat on the couch, played it for her. She goes, "Oh, that's your Aunt Irene. How would you have a recording like that?" I said, "Look at it. It's 5:31 today." She went, "Okay, well, don't get scared. Your aunt loved you." She didn't think anything of it. Now, I played it for other people, and they were like, "What is that?" And I said, my aunt that passed. And they were like, "No way." I was like, "That's her voice." And I played it for other family members who said, "I don't want to hear it. Don't play it for me. I don't want to hear it." I was like, "Okay." But I even played it for people that knew of my aunt but never met them. And I said, "What would you think this is if you just met me today and I played this for you?" And they said, "That's something. Sounds like somebody's dying or something from somewhere else. Doesn't sound like it's earthbound." Now, after that, I got additional phone calls 2 nights in a row, watching a Rambo movie. I was watching Rambo 2 or Rambo 3 in my living room, not thinking of anything. I get a phone call, picked it up. This number was all zeros, 7 zeros. And it was a girl with straight dialect, like an Indiana type of dialect, like no twang. Southern Indiana has a twang. Straight in the middle really doesn't, like New Palestine area. Even Indianapolis, they really don't have an accent. It's like straight talk. She says, I said, "Hello, hello." "Oh, hello. How are you doing today? Are you still going to be picking me up tomorrow?" Talking like that, but not hearing me. I'm like, "I don't know who this is." And she goes, "Oh, it's just very nice to speak to you again." And then that was it. And the phone shut off. That was all. The next night I get another call with a different type of message. Same girl. She sounded like she called me from the past, as if she was calling to talk to somebody and I was listening in on it. That's creepy. Now, the other one I had with a dead person, my friend, this guy fought in 22 battles in World War II. And he died in May, actually a month after my dog, unfortunately, May of 2016. Nicest guy in the world, sharp as a tack, got sick and unfortunately passed away at 95 years old. Months and months later, my girlfriend and I are going over to my mother's house for dinner. So my girlfriend's driving, sunny day once again. I'm in the passenger seat. And I said, I called my mother to see if she needed me to pick anything up on the way there. We're about a mile away. She answers the phone, goes, "Hello," in his voice. And Gabby, my girlfriend driving, she went, "The chief?" Because his nickname was the chief because he was a chief in the military. And then my mom's voice comes on and goes, "Jason, what? What's wrong?" And I said, "I just heard Ed's voice." She goes, "Well, I don't know. You called me." I said, "You okay?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." I didn't even ask if she needed anything. I said, "All right, I'll see you when I get there." I look at my girl and she's like, "Oh my God, that was Ed's voice." We both heard it. So we both heard that voice. 2 people saw the woman with the snake hair. And this is weird when you have a witness. So I've had witnesses on, I know you don't have much time left, but I have witnesses even on other things where people have seen stuff like, "Dude, I saw that too," or "I heard that too." And it's a little bit of clarification for me. It's nice knowing I'm not the only one in it, but it's so excessive at times, and so real that it's bringing other people in to see it. Like it's making itself that apparent that others see it as well.
Well, we'll have to visit again in a few months, Jason, and you can bring in another slew of stories. I'd love to hear more of your tales and some of the strangeness. Why do you think it picked you? Do you think that you utilizing that Ouija board, do you think that really kind of opened up an awareness, kind of a
I really don't know.
awakening?
I kind of think I'm a genuine person. Like I kind of, like if I don't like you, I'll tell you I don't like you. Like I won't pretend to be a friend. You know what I mean? But at the same time, if you need my help, I'd still help you. I'm just kind of, maybe me being that genuine and very non-judgmental. Maybe that's the reason things are open to me in that way. That's what a friend of mine told me, my buddy Rich. He goes, "Yeah," he goes, "I think that's the reason, because you're kind of like an open book." And I said, "Yeah." Plus, being creative opens your mind to things.
Agreed.
And maybe that does it as well. Maybe that could be another avenue for something or things to say, "Hey, this guy's, not going to run away crying." But I haven't seen the thing that would make me run away crying yet, and I hope I don't see that. But, that may happen in the future. You never know.
Jason, thank you so much for being here this evening and sharing your stories and being very open about it.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Dave.
You got it. Take care. Wow, great stories, man. I love when I hear from people I didn't know existed before, and they're able to come in and share some insights into the strange experiences they've had. And tonight, our guest, Jason, he shared these extraordinary experiences, right? But what unsettled him wasn't what he saw. It was just how ordinary the world seems to stay afterward, right? It's like those moments after the death of someone who meant the world to you. And you're kind of forced to realize the world continues on as though the world and the people never even noticed the deep impact of your loss. The further we explore this realm of impossibilities, the more bizarre the world seems. Up is down, left is right, and the unthinkable exists, whether or not we want to admit it. And thanks to our guest, Jason Tavares, we're one step deeper and two steps to the left of predictability. But that's why we're here. This is why we discuss things openly, to try to make sense of the senseless and feel secure in a community where anything can happen, and usually does. Now, this is your safe space. I want you to know that. And I thank all of you, my darklings from around the world, for being here and allowing me to be your guide through these journeys. We are the spot where fascination overrides our senses, but knits us just a little closer together. Why? Because this is our Paranormal 60.